We are even Steven in the Eastern Conference semifinals between the 76ers and Celtics as Boston pounds Philadelphia, winning this game by 34. My goodness. Joel Embiid, first game in 13 days, missed the last 2 games with the sprain to his LCL. Looked okay. 15 points, 5 blocks. He started 3 of 5 in the first half, had the 5 blocks in the first half, 18 minutes in the first half. And it was another award winner that stole the show. Malcolm Brogdon, the 6th man of the year, with 23 points off the bench, scoring more points than the entire 76ers bench. 121-87 is the final. Hope you laid the points with Boston because it wasn't even a sweat. This game was basically over at the end of the third quarter. Boston outscored Philadelphia 35-16 in the third, and it was garbage time rest of way. Jason Tatum, 1 of 7 for 7 points. Somewhat of a concern considering he went for 39 in game 1, but really doesn't matter because now they got a game at home as the series heads to Philadelphia for games 3 and 4. And for more, welcome in CBS Sports NBA writer Colin Ward-Henninger. And Colin, if I had told you that Jason Tatum would go 1 of 7 and the Celtics still win this game, what would you have said?
I would have said you're out of your mind, and not to mention that Al Horford went 1 of 8 from three-point range. So, you know, 2 of their biggest players had really terrible games, and they won by 30-something points. So if you're a Boston Celtics fan, you have to be happy. And really, what it set the tone was their defense. Right from the jump, what happened in Game 1 did not happen in Game 2. They put pressure on the 76ers. They made them work for everything that they had to get. And that's really why the Celtics were able to go out and build that big lead. They were getting on the floor. They were getting loose balls. Doc Rivers, you could hear him saying it to his team on the sideline. Look, they're out working us. They're out hustling us. That was the case the entire game. Once they did that, the threes started falling, and the Celtics really rolled from there.
Yeah, they really imposed their will on Philadelphia in Game 2. Didn't really do that in Game 1. And you saw James Harden go off in Game 1 for 45 points. And James Harden in this game doesn't have that big of a game. He goes 2 of 14 for 12 points for the game. And Joel Embiid plays his first game in 13 days, missed the last 2 with the knee injury. How did Joel Embiid look to you?
Yeah, it was interesting because in the first half, he looked pretty spry, athletic, especially on the defensive end, getting those 5 blocks. Clearly, his timing was not disrupted. But when you watched him on offense, you know, I don't know if it's the knee. He was wearing that bulky brace. It looked like he was moving okay. He's never a guy that's running up and down the court and being super athletic. He does it in stretches, but really he's pretty methodical offensively. Really, it just looked like Philadelphia was just out of sorts. They didn't know where to be. Another thing you have to take into account is that when Joel Embiid is on the court and he's kind of the focal point of the offense, he's dealing with double teams. He's dealing with all these long, rangy, fast Boston defenders. It reminds me of when you watch an NFL game and they show that camera view from behind the quarterback and you see all the bodies running around. You wonder, how do these people ever complete a pass? That's kind of what it's like when you're a big man in the NBA and you're getting these double teams. He has to know where everybody's going to be, where everybody's coming from. So I think that might be the aspect of basketball that's going to have to take a little bit to come back, particularly in a playoff atmosphere. So I think it was good that they got him back out on the court. Obviously, they need him to be better in Game 3, but I think getting his feet wet, seeing what the action is like, was probably a good thing for him.
What's your reaction to the 3-point disparity? 6 of 30 for Philadelphia, 20 of 51 for Boston.
This is what the Celtics do. It was kind of an anomaly in the first game where they only got up 26 three-pointers. It's crazy that we say only got up 26 three-pointers in this era. But yeah, getting 40 plus, they got 51, I think, tonight. That's where they want to be. They want to be bombing from 3. And as we mentioned, Jason Tatum didn't shoot the ball well. Al Horford didn't shoot the ball well. But their depth was on display. You mentioned Malcolm Brogdon, Derek White, Grant Williams came in and gave him big minutes. That was a point of emphasis for Joe Mazzulla, was to get Grant Williams more minutes, and he showed why with his not only his physicality, but his ability to stretch the defense to the 3-point line. So you have Jaylen Brown, who's been playing extremely well in the playoffs. Marcus Smart, who's always a big game player. Boston just has more depth than Philadelphia. If Joel Embiid and James Harden aren't fantastic and they don't get a really good game from Tyrese Maxey or Tobias Harris, they're really in trouble because Boston is a much deeper team than the Philadelphia 76ers.
Well, and you talk about that depth. You mentioned Malcolm Brogdon, sixth man of the year. It's as if the sixth man of the year was like, hey, Joel Embiid just named MVP. Hey, don't forget about me. I'm coming off the bench and I get buckets. He hit 6 3-pointers. He hit 6 of those threes in this game for Boston. So when you look at the depth for Boston, I mean, this team can roll really deep. What have you learned through 2 games in this series?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned Brogdon, and you have to think that this is a guy who could be starting for a lot of teams in the NBA. So it took sacrifice for him to join the Boston Celtics, accept his role off the bench. And this is exactly why, because he knows he can come in and have such a big impact against second units and be able to kind of be the leader and be the leading scorer on that second unit that can outwork and outplay other teams' bench units in the playoffs. So what I've learned about the Boston Celtics is that they just need to be themselves. Game 1 seemed like that was not their style. It was not their pace. They weren't shooting enough threes. If they go out, and this is a team that, you know, I've championed throughout the season as being arguably the best team in the league and generally my pick to win the title, it's because of that depth. It's because of their top-end talent and the fact that they've been there before. Remember, this team went to the finals. They were favored in the finals against the Warriors before Steph Curry went crazy. So I think what I've learned is that the Celtics, to me, are a better team than the 76ers, and as long as they stay under control and play the way that they play basketball, I think they're going to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals.
Game 3 in Philadelphia on Friday as the series moves to the city of brotherly love. Colin, do you expect Game 3 to be more like Game 1 where it's nip and tuck, or this Game 2 where it turns out to be a blowout?
Yeah, it's hard for me to imagine another blowout, particularly like this. I think that Joel Embiid is going to be a lot better. I think, as I said before, this was a good game for him to test the waters. Philadelphia had already stolen Game 1. They're kind of playing with house money. Let's get him out there. Let's get him back used to playoff basketball. So absolutely, I expect it to be much more like Game 1 when they head back to Philadelphia for Game 3. That atmosphere is going to be incredible. We all know what Philadelphia's crowd is like. They're going to be screaming and yelling and well lubricated and ready to go. So I expect it to be a very close matchup. And, you know, obviously, Philadelphia is hoping that they can win one, but as I said before, I think that Boston is the better team if both teams play to their full capability. How's this
for the stat that I'll leave you with? If the Celtics didn't score in the fourth quarter, they still would have won by 5. I mean, that says it all right there, right?
What else needs to be said, right?
Right? I mean, there it is. Boom. Boston bounces back to even up the series at 1 game apiece. Colin Ward-Henninger breaking down for us here on CBS Sports HQ. Thank you, sir. As you take a look at the series schedule ahead, the series shifting to Philadelphia for games 3 and 4 on Friday and Sunday. The 76ers 31-12 at home this season, including the playoffs.